Hi everyone, I'm Jonah Chung.
I'm Monty Panasa.
And welcome to At Home with Joan and Monty's talk show. Today our special guest is none other than Ann Dixon.
Hi Joan. Hi
Hi,
Monty.
welcome to our show, Ann.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
I'd like to get right into the interview because we've got so much to talk about. Ann, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are?
Okay, that's a long story, but I'll praise it because I'm old. Ann Dixon, I am an ex-magazine editor, ex-beauty celebrity makeup artist, and now I'm a transformational, let me put back in the words, multi-award transformational life coach. And that's what I do for a living. All of them are to do with words. I'm a believer of expressing myself effectively. And so if you, from the beginning where I was working in PR, then moving into beauty and magazine editor, and now it's a spoken word. That's what I do. I motivate people, tell them what they already know, but just allow them to see it from their perspective.
Tell us what it was like growing up as a young girl of the Windrush generation.
Whoa, that's a big one. I loved growing up in the Windrush generation. I think because I was naive. I left Guyana when I was 9 or 10, and I grew up probably, I would think I would have been the second generation of Windrush people that arrived. And my auntie was there. She was the one that was going through what was the struggles. Now I understand the struggles. I remember the prejudice and being in shock in it, because although I grew up in Guyana, I didn't experience so much prejudice as I did in England. There was a little boy riding down the road, and I was walking down the road in my little white socks and, you know, looking well coiffured, as we do in the Caribbean, right? You can't go to school with that with orange looking socks. And a boy was looking at me, he had red hair, and then he just rode on, and he looked back and he says the big N word, and then told me to go back home. And that was the first time that I experienced racism per se. And it was very difficult. I realized at the time that my aunt and the people of her generation was talking about all the things that they were experiencing at work. But I was at school and didn't understand indirect racism at that time. Later on, I think I realized what it was like. But I was an activist with my mouth. So in school, when I wrote articles, when I was doing stuff, I would always put in things reminding the teachers indirectly that I grew up in the Caribbean and English was the motherland, and how wonderful it was to learn about the land of gold and honey. And then to come to England and there was no such thing as gold, and the honey was very, very, very sparse.
I love your energy, Sherry. Recently, an athlete, a 27-year-old athlete who's been appointed into a cabinet in Guyana.
Yes.
Now, that's big news.
I applaud anybody that stands up for equality and for transparency, and for anything that is fair and no injustice. I applaud him.
And you have started this proactive Black campaign since you were a young girl, because tell us about your first experience when you stood up as a worker in the bank.
Okay, it was in the days where we all had straight coiffure hair. We went out on a Saturday. I think, no, it was a Thursday night. It was the club night. We went out, and I think that we got home like at 4 o'clock or something. You know, you've got to get up at 6 or 7 to get to work in England. And I had plaited my hair. It was long, but I plaited it with water and Vaseline to get it to go curly and kinky. And I got up and I brushed my teeth and probably put the moisturizer. I probably still had alcohol in me, rum and black. Rum and black was the thing then. And did everything that you should and go to work. It wasn't necessary to wear makeup then, right? So I went to work and forgot that I had the big afro, the curly afro, instead of the coiffure blown out hot comb look. And my boss said, my name was Bollers at the time. He said, Sherry Ann Bollers, what happened to you? You look as if you put your hand in a plug, your finger in the plug, meaning that my hair is standing on edge. And I was suddenly realized, oh my God, I come to work in the different Sherry. You know, you change from Thursday to Saturday. You become I'm black and I'm proud. You know, you wear all the funky hairstyles and stuff. And for about 2 weeks, basically, I went to work because I'm out now. I'm out. So what's the point of going back straight? And he said, I think the secretary who I was working under said, Sherry, you've been working that hair. Now take it back. Go back to the normal hair, is what she said. And I said, I can't go back now. This is my hair. And I heard the words coming out of her mouth even before she said it. Well, if you can't take it back, Sherry, that's how she used to speak, then, well, in other words, she was saying that I would have to leave. And I wrote my notice that day. I typed it. That was the days of typing. And I typed it and I gave it to her and I handed in my notice. And that was the beginning of Sherry Ann Dixon. Whether I wore natural hair, whether I did whatever I wanted to, it was about me. And I didn't stand for somebody telling me how I had to be.
Thank you so much for sharing. That was our Sherry Ann. But at this time, we've got to bring in our second guest, none other than South Africa's Don Dada.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hello, Don Dada. How are you?
I am awesome. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on your show. It's such an honor.
When did you decide to become a musician?
You know, it's a decision that I don't think I really made consciously. I made my first professional recording at the age of 13. I was still well into I had just begun high school. And it's just something that it called to me. It's something that I can't even explain it. All of my school books, I was looking back at them. I've been collecting them over the years, and every single one of my books has raps that I was writing or some song that I was planning on making. So it's just something that's always been inside of me, and I've been blessed to have people around me that supported my vision and provided me platforms and opportunities to allow me to become the artist that I am.
Obviously, coming from a different angle, in South Africa, how have people responded to Black Lives Matter?
Well, you know, there's been a lot going on in South Africa during this whole time period, especially with the lockdown and the different levels. I believe we have one of the strictest lockdowns in the world that was imposed onto us. So these are the things that we've been dealing with. And then there was an increase in gender-based violence, which we could definitely call a second pandemic. And in the midst of this then happened the Black Lives Matter movement, and a lot of people mobilized. We can talk about the EFF, which is the political party that goes by the name of the Economical Freedom Fighters. They held a couple of marches throughout Johannesburg and Sandton and different venues. And they tried to show their solidarity for our brothers in the UK and in the US and all over the world. But as I say, there's just so much going on in South Africa right now. It's really hard to say that there's been one unified movement. There's been a lot of different small things happening, but not one large thing.
Music is one way to encourage people to understand and educate. How will you use music to promote the issues that really matter the most?
Well, I mean, you know, coming from South Africa, we're a place that we're very conscious of our history. We're talking about having been granted our freedom as a republic in 1994. And therefore, all of our music reflects this consciousness. I think Black Lives Matter and it's an extension of what we've been going through. If you had to go back into our history and look at the Soweto uprising and the riots that happened there against the youth, it's very similar situations, and our music has always spoken up and been vocal about it. And I think that it's more a time for South Africa to to show now a unified face to the rest of the world. So it's time for us to present a united figure, and I think that our music could be a perfect opportunity to do so, especially seeing that our history strongly is centered around Black Lives Matter.
What are some of your personal achievements as a reggae and a hip hop artist?
So as a hip hop artist, okay, my first album was released 2016. 2017, I became the official Nelson Mandela artist with my track entitled Viva Mandela. The song went multi-platinum in the space of 4 months. I followed up that single with a single that was a tribute to the late great Mama Winnie Mandela, that I performed live on South African television at her memorial shortly after her passing. After that, I had transitioned into reggae music. With the reggae music, I am the first African artist with the distribution deal with Tough Gong International in the Caribbean. I was also one of the first to go and perform on the Jamaica Live stage. I performed at Bob Marley's house for his birthday celebrations last year, which was quite an awesome, remarkable achievement for me. I mean, coming from South Africa, we never thought that we'd even be able to go to Jamaica, and now to go and perform at Bob Marley's house, that's insane. It's just insane. And as we speak right now, I'm constantly working. I'm about to release a new album, and that's going to be another achievement. So, yeah.
I like that. I like the fact that Don talks about Nelson Mandela, because, you know, I interviewed him twice. And I went to South Africa, Don, to meet, to go in the house that he lived in Soweto. And it's so heart-rendering when you're there to see this man that is, you know, that stood up for the things that he believed in and for his country. So that's a great thing. And we both resonate with Mandela. I made him up the first time when I was the makeup artist. And then the second time, I actually was then more the magazine editor, and I went to do the interview when he came out. So it's really good.
Oh man, Mandela is such a colossal figure. I mean, I think he speaks to something that Cheryl was speaking about earlier, where she says you do not have to be aggressive with how you present things, but just present it with facts. And I think Mandela is one of the most perfect examples of that. That is a man who had no aggression or hate in his heart. Everything he did came from love, and it came from straight facts that we need to be united as a nation. We need to be one together. And to go back, I mean, I recorded my music video back in the Eastern Cape, where he's originally from, and to go there and to walk that land, it's quite a surreal feeling to think in your mind that this is the land where a Nobel Peace Prize winning man came from. It's incredible. I think I'm quite blessed to be honored to be allowed to have done such a song for such a man. I think it's a better achievement than any pop song, because a pop song doesn't really have meaning, but a song about someone like Mandela, that is so powerful.
Yeah, tell us your involvement and contributions to the Nelson Mandela Foundation.
Okay, so with the Nelson Mandela Foundation, I have pledged a percentage of the song Viva Mandela for the life of the song throughout its sales and whatever it makes to the Nelson Mandela Foundation, so that I can help the kids that are within the home that's there. As well as from the Nelson Mandela Foundation, they've actually put me in touch with the Nkosi Johnson Foundation, and I've been working with them quite closely, going and performing for the kids. I also do a radio show. So I go once a year and I set up my radio show in the foundation. I interview the kids and I ask them about their dreams, their aspirations, what they would like to be, because I don't think many people ask them such things. I mean, they're kids that society would say are orphans, or, you know, they don't really care so much about. So I try and give them a lot of attention and, yeah, try and nurture some confidence within them. And a lot of these kids, I'm very proud of them. Some of them are doing big things at the Johannesburg State Theatre, and they're really, really pushing and self-motivated, and that's one of the biggest gifts I could have gotten myself, is to see them grow.
So wonderful to hear that, John. Thank you so much, you know, for your inspiration to the children. Sherian, I'd like to ask you, as the founder of Awesome You and Be You, tell us what that is about.
I run a sort of organization called Women on the Crossroads because I'm very much an advocate for motivating women based on the fact that I know there are many women who are single parents, single mothers, and bringing up children, especially young boys. And I believe in motivating them. So I started Women on the Crossroads, and I would do lots of events, and I started Awesome You in London, where I brought them out. I brought them out to dinner in places where they might never have gone before, the Hilton, the Marriott, that sort of place. And we had dinners, and then I brought out what you call the invisible woman. The top lawyers, the top doctors, the women that are wound specialists, that other big doctors around the world have to call for them and fly them out to treat their wounds. I found those people, and I basically brought them out, and that was the very first Awesome You. And I honored 100, at that time she was about 109-year-old Irene Sinclair. Because I'm saying she became a model at 96, and so if she could do it, if she could start a new career at that age, then so can you. So that's what Awesome You and Be Awesome is, the Caribbean arm of that. And I get young people to come in and be part of seeing what it's like to be around women who have done awesome things, and to be motivated by them, so they too can aspire to see people who are doing really well in society. That's what my Be Awesome and Awesome You are about. And I'm going to continue doing that because I might not be here forever, but it's leaving a legacy. All of us should want to leave a legacy, a footprint on earth. I don't call it in the sand anymore, on earth, because what about the poor people that don't have sand? And if I can go back, I went to the United Nations, and my speech was why every woman and every young girl should have a mentor, because mentorship is really important in this day and age. Just like Don was saying, it's important for somebody to look out for the people who are not doing so well, and that's what I'm doing. I'm looking out for people who can't look out for themselves.
Sherry, who were your top 10 favorite international celebrities you have worked with, and why?
Oh my God, top 10. That's hard. I'm getting old. All right. Well, obviously, Nelson Mandela is one of them. Then there's Luther Vandross, Maya Angelou, Barry White. God, there's so many of them. Whitney Houston. I can't remember them all, but that's a little tick box, right?
That's a massive tick
box. 5 is enough. 5 is good enough.
I'm like, wow.
I loved when I interviewed Pam Grier, because she was so deep in the sense that she didn't talk just about her acting role. She talked about the law of attraction. Things that she believes, and if you put it into play, if you think it will happen. If you feel it, it's because it's giving you, if you can feel it in your gut, then know that something's either right or wrong, but acknowledge that what you feel is a thing. I did, good God, how many people have I done? I can tell you the two that I haven't done because they're still on the list, and that's Oprah, and of course still the first Black president of the United States. I'll do his wife. I don't mind. I'll interview her, and I'd like to interview the president of Guyana. I think that's going to happen soon.
That's on your bucket to-do list.
I think that it's important for us to say what we want to do, put it out there, and then wait for the universe to bring it into fruition. Don't you agree, Don?
100%.
I just Googled you while we were on air, and I can see some of the things that you say is very similar to what I feel. Believe in yourself and everything else will follow. It's got to be about you first.
I firmly believe that if you can have that faith in yourself, then everybody else around you will feed off that energy. So it all begins with you. I think, I always get asked by young artists, like, how could I get started, or how do I start in the industry? And I always tell them that, look, you don't need much. You have everything you have because you are the key. You're the secret. Yeah. If you can work on yourself first, then nobody can stop you from there.
Yes.
Don Dada, tell us about your 2020 released album and the name of it, first of all, and why you chose that name for the album.
Okay, so the name of my album is Akebulan. Akebulan is the original indigenous name for Africa before colonialization or anybody landed on our shores. And the reason why I chose that name is because I think that we have to start with our own pride building. I like what Sherry Ann was saying earlier, that, you know, sometimes we hate on ourselves. And I think that that speaks back very well to the xenophobic attacks that we were having in South Africa and all the other things that we do to each other. We still persecute each other in the African continent. So we have to build up our pride. And to build up our pride, we have to know where we come from. Africa is not our original name. It's a name that was imposed on us. So I reverted back to our original name to spark that conversation. I always tell people that, look, I don't know the most about the African history. Like when they hear the name, they think I know a lot. No, I don't. But the name is meant to be a spark. It's supposed to make you ask questions. Go to Google and find out more about what is Akebulan. Where do I fall into this whole thing? And I think from there, you start seeing that you actually have more about your surroundings, more about you that you can be proud of, and you'll start building something much better.
Sherry Ann, you are Britain's top 10 list on most influential females. Why was it to you to become the voice to advocate for women?
Do you know, when I saw this thing came out about me being in the top 10, and I was like, whoa, because, you know, I do what I do because it's in my nature. It's like making a slice of toast and putting butter or peanut butter on it. It's matter of fact. I actually think that people are born to do what they're doing. And I think being on that list with such phenomenal women, my God, I actually was quite shocked as I was reading. I was like, somebody's made this up. This is fake news, until I realized that it wasn't. And so I am so grateful to be on that, and also being on some of the platforms that I've been on, like speaking at the House of Lords and the House of Commons and the European Union and God, I forget them because they're not important. What is important to me is what I've been doing recently. And coming to the Caribbean, there's some people here that's not doing really well. And, you know, with the pandemic, I was able to go and hand out food parcels to the poor. I didn't realize there were people so poor. And so doing that, to me, is the real deal. That's more important. Although I appreciate all the accolades that I've got that takes over a whole wall. I appreciate those. But really, the main thing is to make somebody else feel better about themselves.
In closing, Sherry Ann, I'd like to ask you, what are the future plans for you and your organization?
My future plans was meant to be to come to the Caribbean and sit down and loll off. And in case you don't know what loll off is, it means relax. And to relax and just go out and have, you know, some swank or some wine if you feel like it. But it seems like that's not going to be my nature until my mouth isn't working. Because even if my foot's not working, my mouth will be. So my future plans, to answer the question, is to carry on motivating the next generation of women around the world through media, but more so in the Caribbean, so that they can do a better job changing mindsets and encouraging the next generation to not dislike themselves or hate on themselves, because knowledge is power.
Thank you so much, Sherry.
Hi, and Don, I want to ask you a question in closing. In closing, how do you see the future of the music industry changing as a result of the global lockdown?
Well, you know, the digital era has been rushed along because of this lockdown. I think now shows have been taken virtual. A lot of things are taking place online. So I think it's going to be the evolution of the digital age right now. But along with the evolution of the digital age, it'll be a birth of so many new artists. I think the one thing was that with the the rarity and the harder to access it was for the music, the less artists you had. But now that everyone can put something out, you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of artists coming out with music. Is that a good thing? Yes, I think so, because it allows people to be creative on one hand. But on the other hand, look, it kind of gives a bit too much. I think people have too much choice, and when you have too much choice, you don't necessarily stick to one thing for very long. You listen to it once or twice and throw it away. So I see music becoming very much so about singles, less about albums, more about the digital age, and more about those quick hits. Let's just get that money type stuff. People are not going to be thinking about making longevity type music.
Well, that's very interesting, Don Dada. Are you trying to say it's going to be a rise of pop music, just feel good quickly and fizzle?
So I think so. I mean, I hate to call it pop music because, I mean, reggae could be popular, but it's going to be, I mean, if you have a favorite artist, you're not going to be necessarily trying to get the whole Jay-Z or Don Dada album. You're just going to want that one or two singles, make your little playlist and continue like that. So artists are going to be able to whittle that down and say, look, let's not focus on making it. Could potentially cost a whole lot of money to mix and master and studio time, but let's rather go and focus on making those 1-2 songs and focus on the marketing and put the money in. So we're going to see a whole bunch of different things going on digitally, and I can't wait to see how performances are going to evolve, because right now performances without crowds, for me, it's not my favorite thing, because there's no energy. You cannot feed off energy when you're looking into a camera. So we have to find a way of bridging that gap of how to connect with the audience through a camera. But once we get that done, I think music is going to take on a whole nother form. But I don't think it's anything new. We've done LP to cassette to CD. So this is just another step.
Sherry-Ann, what do you think? What's your views on that?
I don't understand anything anymore. I'm totally confused. Maybe I'm getting old, but I actually think if I do have to have a thought, then it's about, in general, I think that there's going to be a new surge of music is going to come along. People will say what they feel, and I think it might actually go back to having some words in the music and getting some music that has meaning and transparency.
Positive vibes. Positive vibes and positive lyrics and conscious lyrics, basically.
Let's, don't start me off on this. I don't know why you asked me this question, because I actually think that, gone are the days that we listen to Marley. We can still play Marley now, right? And the words the things that he was advocating for meant something. All those sort of guys, that era, meant something. Even the Beatles tune, if we want to not stay on the Black Forum, they all meant something. But now I don't understand what they're saying. No wonder the kids are walking around like just banging their heads, because there's no motivation in that type of music that they're making now. So if I would ask for anything to happen, is for us to go back to saying and motivating others, not with just madness. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Sherry-Ann.
You do go there and say, I don't understand that madness, them drumming beats and stuff that they're doing. I don't understand that.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have for now, folks. We'd like to say goodbye. Thank you all to all our guests who joined us on the show today, Don Dada and Sherry-Ann Dixon. Thank you so much, and farewell from us at Home with Joan and Monty Talk Show. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.